at all.
Well, it's a dangerous fight.
Yeah.
Because Joshua's going to try to make an example out of him, for sure.
And will.
I mean, Anthony Joshua is one of the biggest one-punch KO artists ever.
Yes.
I mean, he's a one-punch night-night guy.
Yeah.
Wade, if Jake Paul gets knocked out, will his career be over? Buddy, his life may be over if he gets knocked out by AJ, because that dude put Francis Ngannou flat on his back, and I had never seen Francis Ngannou hurt before. And again,
I don't think this is a proper. I don't think that I would ever consider having a debate about whether Anthony Joshua versus Jake Paul is a proper fight between two bona fide champions. I think Jake Paul is someone that's creating a lot of opportunity for himself and using sport as the anchor for it. And would I watch it? No. And do I value it? No.
Joe Rogan warns that Jake Paul is entering very dangerous territory by even thinking about fighting Anthony Joshua. Rogan says Joshua is an Olympic gold medalist and one of the strongest boxers of this generation. He believes Joshua would try to make an example out of Jake to stop him from calling out top champions just for money. Rogan says the skill gap is so wide that the fight could end in a brutal way for Jake.
If he beat Anthony Joshua, good Lord. Good Lord. I mean, that's a big if, right?
I mean,
Anthony Joshua,
I do not
Olympic gold medalist, former heavyweight champion of the world. What he did to Francis Ngannou, good Lord.
Yes.
Do you want that smoke?
Yeah, I just think it's all about the promotion or whatever. I have no idea what the actual motivation is for it. That fight's not competitive at all.
Well, it's a dangerous fight.
Yeah.
Because Joshua's going to try to make an example out of him, for sure.
And will.
I mean, Anthony Joshua is one of the biggest one-punch KO artists ever.
Yes.
I mean, he's a one-punch night-night guy.
Yeah.
Wade Plemons, the host of the Wade Concept podcast, strongly warns Jake Paul that facing Anthony Joshua could put him in serious danger. Plemons explains that Jake is around 90 kilograms while Joshua fights at about 111 kilograms, which creates a huge gap in weight and strength. He says it is one thing to take fights for entertainment, but a completely different thing to step into the ring with a seasoned heavyweight champion with Olympic pedigree. Anthony Joshua is an Olympic gold medalist after all. Plemons says that if Jake gets knocked out by Joshua, he might never fully recover, and that this is not just a mismatch but a risk that could change his life. He believes Jake's drive to chase big money fights is making him ignore the danger he is stepping into.
Issues in making this fight: one, yes, that's the former heavyweight champ. Why is he fighting Jake Paul? And two, why is Jake Paul putting his health and well-being on the line? Because someone asked me on Twitter, Wade, if Jake Paul gets knocked out, will his career be over? Buddy, his life may be over if he gets knocked out by AJ, because that dude put Francis Ngannou flat on his back, and I had never seen Francis Ngannou hurt before. Again, it's boxing, not MMA. Jake has a little more experience, but we're talking about a massive size difference. AJ's still relatively young and still relatively got something left in the tank, and he's only fought the world-class guys for the last 10 years. This would be Jake's not only hardest fight, most dangerous fight of his career. If Jake is doing this, it could signal the last one. I'm not even joking. This could signal Jake being like, I'm having one more of these and I'm out. Because where do you go from Anthony Joshua? We'll get into that part in a second, but the Netflix thing. We know that Anthony Joshua is an exclusive fighter to DAZN. Eddie Hearn has stated that multiple times. AJ, I'm pretty sure, even has a piece of DAZN. I could be wrong about that, but he signed a mega deal years ago with them. So for this fight to take place on Netflix would mean DAZN would say, you can have one of our biggest cash draws, and I may be in a revenue share thing, or maybe Netflix pays them some money, but you can have our biggest cash draw and we don't have an affiliation with it. That seems a bit unrealistic. But having said that, this isn't a report from anybody in the camp. This is not MVP saying it. This is not Eddie Hearn saying it. This is Mike Coppinger, who I guess has talked to people in the camp. But an independent source saying that they are finalizing a deal. Not that they're in talks. They are finalizing a deal. So this is, again, we're talking 1 yard line, first and goal, right? We're right there.
Boxing Kingdom said on X that Jake Paul versus Anthony Joshua is now being discussed as a real professional boxing match. This will not be an exhibition, and it will use official Queensberry rules. That confirms the matchup is being taken seriously under full professional regulations, and not as a casual event. If the fight is finalized, it will follow standard protocols with sanctioned referees and scoring, which shows the high stakes and real danger for both fighters. Rumors that Jake Paul versus Anthony Joshua is close to being set for December are spreading fast in the boxing world. However, Eddie Hearn, who promotes Joshua, says the talk is premature information. Hearn says no formal contracts are signed and that much of what is being reported is only speculation at this point. Ariel Helwani, the veteran MMA and boxing journalist, says that when so many people talk about a fight, it usually means something is happening behind the scenes. Helwani believes that when rumors gain this much momentum, they often signal a real event possibly at the end of this year or early next year. So even though Hearn is being cautious, Helwani still thinks the fight could happen sooner than many expect.
Joshua and Jake Paul are finalizing a deal for a heavyweight fight on Netflix in December in Miami, sources tell Ring Magazine. Paul steps up massively to fight the former heavyweight champion after his exhibition with Gervonta Davis was canceled. Major props to Paul. So there you have it. In the midst of all this, I did reach out to Eddie Hearn, as did Gareth, and he said, "We have spoken, but nothing close, and I doubt he would be so crazy." He being Jake. I then asked him, "Would you say this report is premature?" He said, "Absolutely." And then I said, "Can I attribute this to you?" And he said, "Yes." And so, what do we make of this, guys? Do we think there's smoke to this fire? PT, what do you think? You think this is something that could actually happen? This would be within the next month, right? This would be sometime between now and probably December 19th or so, in that time frame. What do you think?
I think it's a huge fight. You know, I didn't expect this at all. Usually when Jake is in a fight, the odds feel like they're stacked very much in his favor. This is the complete opposite of that. I'd very much agree with Gareth A. Davies' take, which was I'd expect Joshua to obliterate him in a boxing match. I mean, look what Anthony Joshua did to Francis Ngannou before that Dubois fight. Like, I mean, it was a completely different affair than the Tyson Fury fight. I think, having heard Eddie Hearn's update and having looked at that tweet again, it feels like boxing's equivalent to the old in the works reporting that we used to see in MMA an awful lot, right? Like when we weren't quite sure, maybe one side had verified that this fight is happening, but you can't get the other side to commit, and it's in the works. It's a huge fight. The one thing I will say is, why would you want that out there? Why would the Ring report this? Why would someone give them that information if it wasn't going to happen? Now, because everything else pales in comparison to this, as far as I'm concerned. Every other fight that they had perspective or potential, I don't think it's as big as Anthony Joshua. So I don't know.
This isn't a ring fight, right? This isn't a ring fight. Anthony Joshua is tied to DAZN. Anthony Joshua has a relationship with Turki Al-Sheikh and Riyadh Season. The ring is owned by Turki Al-Sheikh.
MMA Fighting posted on X sharing Leon Edwards' reaction to the growing talk about a Jake Paul versus Anthony Joshua fight. Edwards said that if AJ does not knock Jake out in 1 or 2 rounds, then something must be wrong with the fight. His remark shows the huge gap in skill, power, and experience between them. Edwards suggests that Joshua should dominate, and anything longer would be a surprise. The reaction from a top UFC welterweight champion shows how serious and dangerous the matchup would be and how little faith people have in Jake Paul being able to handle Joshua's power. Francis Ngannou, the former MMA heavyweight champion turned boxer, once faced Anthony Joshua and suffered a brutal knockout. This showed Joshua's power is real and his heavyweight skill is not a fluke. Jake Paul had talks about fighting Ngannou, which was already a bold move given Francis's dangerous reputation. But now the focus has shifted to Joshua, who is an even bigger threat. Jake is now targeting a fighter who not only knocked out Ngannou, but has proven many times that his size, speed, and skill at heavyweight make him a terrifying opponent. In other words, Jake is chasing a man who defeated someone as dangerous as Ngannou, a gamble, with huge reward and massive risk. Earlier, the matchup being discussed was Jake Paul versus Francis Ngannou, but Francis publicly refused, saying the idea was disrespectful and that he would not waste his time fighting a crossover boxer influencer.
Right, with Jake, and everything's wrong with Francis. He can go with Francis. So now all of a sudden you start satisfying both ends of this. Okay. So when that falls through, the rumor is that Francis and Jake are still in talks. Even though Francis did not come through on the event he was offered and the date he was offered, MVP and Netflix may be willing to reschedule everything and still make him part of it. And Francis' big statement was just, hey, this doesn't make sense. No, it's not what I'm looking for. Doesn't make sense. Okay. That's not my business. I can't be mad at Francis for that. That just cost Francis a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. That just cost Francis life-changing money. I can't be mad. If I'm mad at Francis, then I got my way. He cut off his nose to spite his face. I can't be mad at him. He's already been punished. What good does it do me to be mad at him? All right. Well, then you bring in Joshua. Joshua shows you how it's done. Right? Joshua and Francis are not remarkably comparable. I mean, not only did they box, they're not remarkably comparable, but in the world of boxing and just the accomplishments. I mean, you take Joshua Benson, Olympic finalist, for goodness sakes, right? Just like lifelong, very well known. Multiple generations of boxing ties. You know, go all the way back to Klitschko. Go all the way back. You couldn't go before Klitschko was there first, but you go all the way back to Klitschko. Anything that has ever happened in the sport of boxing says you can tie Joshua to. And he's a professional, and above everything else, he's a real boxer. So if he is to say something makes sense, then it makes sense. Right? If you have Joshua's opinion of does this make sense to... Now, none of us know what sense means. We don't even know if he's spelling it with an S or a C. None of us can define or tell you what this means. It makes such little sense that Francis can't even tell you why it doesn't make sense. But again, I can't be mad at Francis. He already pissed down his own leg. So, but if you could have Francis's opinion of what in the world of boxing or combat or money or business or sport makes sense, like Francis's level of success is not remarkably comparative.
Simon Jordan, the UK boxing commentator and former club owner, gave a very blunt opinion on the idea of Anthony Joshua versus Jake Paul. He said the matchup is stupid and ridiculous. Jordan admits the money would be huge, but says this is not real competition, it is only spectacle. He stresses that Joshua is a two-time world heavyweight champion who has faced top opponents and built a real legacy, while Jake Paul is nowhere near that level. Jordan argues that this fight would do nothing for Joshua's legacy and would only put Jake in danger while lowering the value of heavyweight boxing.
Between Anthony Joshua and Jake Paul in December. What does it tell us, Simon? Does it tell us more, as I said in the introduction, about the falling star of AJ or the rising one of Jake Paul?
It tells you that there's a huge opportunity for enormous amounts of money to be generated around a fight that really has no integrity behind it in terms of as a fight, but in terms as a media spectacle and entertainment opportunity. You've got a very talented YouTuber that's built himself into a massive influence with huge following, and you've got a former two-time champion of the world that operates at a very high level of engagement. Whether he's a high level of performer anymore is a different discussion. So it becomes about how much can this fight generate, how many eyes on the prize. I mean, I spoke to his very close friend, Michael Jarman, about this very fight about 3 or 4 months ago, and he was like, what do you think? I said, what difference does it make? Oh, it would potentially jeopardize his legacy. His legacy's sealed. You cannot undo the fact, whatever you think of Anthony Joshua,
It might damage it.
I don't think so. What it will do is increase his bank balance, but I think in the it didn't damage Muhammad Ali's reputation to go in with a sumo wrestler, did it?
No, but after, when Joshua was at his peak, Simon, if I had said to you there and then, do you know what? Maybe in December 2025, Anthony Joshua will fight a YouTuber.
This is the entertainment business, and Anthony Joshua is an entertainer, and you can't undo the fact that he won the World Heavyweight Championship twice. And he fought in some great fights.
So why does he need this?
Because he's in the business of entertainment. And if an opportunity is presented to him and someone wants to say that we can monetize this to the huge levels that are potentially available, why wouldn't you? It's a walk in the park.
You see, you're not having Saturday night. Because I know many people wouldn't have this.
Tony Bellew, former WBC cruiserweight champion and now boxing analyst, strongly rejected the idea of this fight. Bellew said he will not believe it until they both step in the ring. He explains that boxing is a noble sport built on rules that protect fighters, not a sideshow created for clicks and money. Bellew says size matters, experience matters, and heavyweight power matters, and Jake Paul has not built the base needed to face Anthony Joshua. He adds that before any deal is made, promoters and sanctioning bodies should set terms that protect the less experienced fighter, which in this case is Jake, not put him in unnecessary danger. Many boxing analysts across podcasts, shows, and media outlets also call the proposed Joshua versus Jake Paul fight extremely dangerous. They point out the huge gap in experience, power, ring IQ, and physical ability. They say Jake may think he can win, but he does not understand that Joshua hits with real knockout power, controls distance, sets the pace, and has lived in a heavyweight division his entire career. The general view is that Jake is delusional if he thinks he can take Joshua's punches and last the rounds.
Survive the rounds.
Leave it. Unless somebody wants to kill Jake, does someone want to kill Jake Paul?
The move is bizarre, and I can't help but feel like this calculated gamble is going to go horrendously wrong.
Whoa.
I think there's something there about maybe the way Americans say Anthony Joshua. I've seen it because he's not the only American. Like, there's retired boxers been calling AJ out from over there. Like, I don't think that they realize, because of what AJ was like when he performed in America against Andy Ruiz, and just generally since then, you know, he's lost a couple. I think they massively underestimate him, and I also think part of it is just Jake Paul thinking, what's the biggest fucking name I can do? What's the biggest event? What's one that I actually, delusionally in my opinion, think that he's got a chance of just landing a big shot on him, and he just doesn't rate AJ's chin. And it's like, yeah, but like Daniel Dubois, it's not the same, is it? What does this do to Anthony Joshua's legacy just by even taking this fight? Lawrence, you've known him for a lot of years.
To be honest, that's who I'm focused on. I don't really care about Jake Paul. I'm just thinking, you know, AJ needs to get himself back on track after that devastating defeat to Daniel Dubois. Why is he concentrating?
If the fight between Anthony Joshua and Jake Paul happens, despite all the warnings, analysts say there must be strict protective rules. They suggest heavier gloves, fewer rounds limits on weight, and maybe even headgear or some kind of handicap for Joshua. Joshua is almost 20 kilograms heavier and far more powerful. Basic matchmaking shows this is a mismatch unless major adjustments are made. Rules would need to be changed to reduce the danger for Jake, but even with changes the risk would still be high. No fight is fully safe, but in this case the danger is far above normal. Many insiders think the responsible choice is to delay the fight until Jake gains more experience and Joshua has a real competitive reason to take the matchup.
From an exhibition with Tank to actually fighting Anthony Joshua, you know, depending on the terms, because here's the thing, Jake Paul started boxing late, so Joshua, to me, this would be a very dangerous fight. So I do got to look at the terms, meaning, are they going 3-minute rounds? Is it a 6-rounder? Is it a 10-rounder? Is it a 12 championship round they're going to make up a belt? Like, what are the terms for this fight? Because Joshua is 6'6", brolic, an Olympic gold medalist. So that's biting off a lot. So for me, I gotta first see the fight actually come into fruition, not just like, oh, reports. Because Ring has previously reported Virgil Ortiz and Jerron Boots Ennis verbally agreed and the deal is expected to be signed. And it gets clicks and people get hyped up, people get excited, and then the fight don't happen.
That's it for today's video. Stay tuned until next time.